Are Manchester City about to enter a centre-back crisis? We are about to part ways, by the looks of it, with our beloved centre-back, one of our heroes, unsung heroes, I think it's fair to say, of last season in Nathan Ake. When he had to come on last season, when he was called upon, I think you have to remember, we did have quite a few centre-back issues last season. Laporte had his issues, Stones had his issues, Diaz had his long-term issues. So Ake was called upon more often than not. And more often than not, he did a very good job. I think he was very impressive, and I think this was almost his breakthrough season at City, if you like, because his first season he didn't really see much ball at all, did he? And then we were kind of saying he's just a squad player, but no, he kind of earned the respect of Pep and the fans. But it looks like he's about to make his way back to a former club who let him go when he was much younger in Chelsea. According to Fabrizio Romano, he says Manchester City have not changed their plans, though. They will sign a new centre-back this summer in case Nathan Ake joins Chelsea. At least 40 million, apparently, according to Romano, but I've seen a lot of other figures thrown around. I've seen 3 or 4 different journalists give 3 or 4 different figures as to what City want for Nathan Ake. It's looking in the region of 40 to 55. I know that's quite a broad region I've given you, but it's looking in that region. And if you're asking me, I think it's poor business. I think for what he offers to our squad and the importance that he has and how solid he is when called upon, I'd want 60 million for this guy. We paid 40 for him, but I'd want 60. So listen, if he goes, I'm not going to lose sleep over it, but I'd be a bit kind of like, I'm sad to see him go because he is so reliable. But Chelsea clearly want him. Chelsea also wanted Laporte. They got Sterling now. They wanted Zinchenko. I've said this before, West London trying to become East Manchester. I'm not going over that again. They needed to go do one. But listen, Joe, first of all, before we talk about potential replacements, how do you feel about the departure of Nathan Ake?
I'm not really too bothered about it. If he goes, I'm not too bothered about it. As long as we get the price that we're looking for, I think we're in no position where we have to have our hand forced to sell him for 40 million. He's got another 3 years left on his contract. He's proved himself to be important in the squad, being able to fill out in multiple positions. And when we have centre halves that are as injury, let's not be around the bush here. When there is injury prone, they are. We usually get, Laporte's had his injury issues. Stones is a walking medical case sometimes. Someone like Nathan Ake who can just come in and he's not bothered about playing 40 games a season. He'll be all right playing sort of 30 and bench appearances and cup appearances. It's invaluable to have that sort of harmony in the squad where you've got someone who accepts their role. He's accepted that he's behind 3 world-class centre-halves and he's not going to get in most weeks. And that's something that I've always really liked about him. He's never really kicked off about his playing time at all. He's just taken the opportunity when he's got it. Of course, his first season, he didn't start really well, but we started that season with, we got battered by Leicester and we conceded 5 to them, and it just wasn't a great start to the season overall. So I think in the second season he came into his own, he found his place, he just became much better and much more important. Obviously, it was unfortunate that he missed the end of the season where we kind of needed him most with some sort of injury that just kind of kept him out, where he was on the bench, but he wasn't fit enough to play. It was one of those. So I'm not too bothered if he leaves, unless it's 40, 45 million. And then I'm thinking, well, we didn't really need to do that.
Yeah, I'm not too bothered about him as a person leaving as such. I know that sounds quite cynical. It's just more so what he offers and the kind of comfort he gives me, because I think you have to realise when you're challenging on all fronts, which we do every single season, you do need at least 3, like we do have already, world-class centre-halves, and then at least 1, maybe even 2, competent and decent centre-halves, and that's what Nathan Ake was. And the reality is now, Joe, that we're going to have to go out into the market, and according to Fabrizio Romano, we haven't changed our plans. The plan is that we will go out into the market and try to find a replacement. Do you have any ideas? I know you've done a bit of research. There's been some names thrown around as to who City may go for. I know we haven't been linked with them, but the one that I would like personally, just to start it off, is Kalidou Koulibaly at Napoli. He's only got 1 year left in his deal, and he's just turned down a contract from Juventus. So maybe he's someone we could look at, but he's not one we've been linked with. That's just a preference. What do you think?
Yeah, well, I think we do have to sign someone. Look, we did this a couple of years ago, didn't we, where we let Kompany walk out the door for nothing. We let him basically decide his future. And then we thought that Stones and Laporte would just, stay fit for at least majority of the season. And that never turned out to be the case. Laporte got torn his ACL early on in the season. Stones was never fit, at least for a consistent period of time. And Otamendi was Otamendi at that point. So it didn't work last time, and I think club will have learned their lesson from trying it back then. I think we will sign a replacement just because I think we need it. I'd love to see Mbete get a chance. I think he is going to get a chance of pre-season, but I think that's about as far as it goes, to be honest. I know he's just got his new contract extension, but realistically, when as a youth player under Pep Guardiola just been thrown in at the deep end as a rotation option, it's never happened. It doesn't happen. And I would expect us to sign someone. That's where we kind of become stuck, really, because I have done my research and all the options that are on the table are far, far easier to sign next year than they are this year, which is unfortunate, which is why I don't want to lose Ake this year. I'd sort of be okay if he still wants to leave in 12 months and just let him go then and sign a replacement because it's easier, but that's not how football works. I mean, you touched on Koulibaly. There's not a chance because we will never deal with Napoli ever again after Jorginho. It's just never, ever happening. Like, yeah, he'd be great. He probably wouldn't accept being fourth choice, but I mean, then we'd have probably 4 world-class centre-halves and we wouldn't really have to worry about anything, but we're never, ever dealing with Napoli again, so that one's kind of off the table. We've seen De Ligt being linked in the last couple of weeks from not the most reliable of sources, I do have to say, so I don't see that one happening. And Chelsea are interested in him as well. They're interested in everyone nowadays, but I don't see De Ligt happening, although his contract does run out in 2024, so it's one to keep your eye on. There's a few that we've been linked to that just have 2 years left on their contract, like Pau Torres. He's a name that's been forever linked for a number of years now. I'm not a fan at all. I don't think he's a good defender. He's good on the ball, but he's not a good defender. The thing is with Ake is he's sort of dependable. You could just stick him in there and you go, yeah, he'll put in a solid performance. He'll actually defend well. Obviously, Kounde's been thrown about as well. I think the 3 names that Romano mentioned was Kounde, Torres and Gvardiol at RB Leipzig. And Kounde, again, Chelsea want him, Barcelona want him. We've supposedly been in for him before. Another 2024 contract expiry. I don't see that one happening either, to be honest, because, again, City don't get in bidding wars, or at least they don't very often. I think that they're seeing that Barcelona and Chelsea are going for him, and they'll just go, yeah, we'll focus elsewhere. If, of course, they find someone to sign. I know a certain Darryl Revel is very keen on Bastoni from Inter Milan. Again, contract expires in 2024, but he is probably one of the more expensive. Yeah, Spurs are interested in him. Conte, one of his boys. I don't think he's been rumoured for a new contract just yet, but again, I think it'd just be too expensive. And the one that personally I would like the most is Gvardiol from RB Leipzig. I've only watched him a couple of times, to be honest, but he's in a similar mould to Ake, where he's not short, he is a bit taller, he is above the 6 foot, but he's left-footed, which, again, would be almost a like-for-like replacement. Having 2 left-footers and 2 right-footers, that's, it adds the balance. He could play as a left-back, that's something that Ake could do. He could facilitate there. But the only thing is, it's going to cost an arm and a leg, which is, again, why we shouldn't really be looking to sell Ake, because I don't really want to fork out on a 4th-choice centre-back. It's not really ideal, especially after the summer we've just had. I think we're in actually positive net spend, but I don't want to fork out like 60 million for a 4th-choice centre-back. But we might have to. That might be the thing. Gvardiol, contract till 2026. I think they only signed him last year as well, but important to note that he does have a release clause next year in his supposed new contract that he's going to sign in the next couple of days, maybe next couple of weeks. It's 41 million in 2023. So again, it's like all of them names would just be so much easier to sign next year. So it's unfortunate timing. I'll be interested to see who we target, because obviously Romano has said that Gvardiol, there's been some interest, like some mutual interest, some admiration for Gvardiol, but that's about as far as it's gone. Like, it could be another Ruben Diaz where they've got someone on the scouting report that we've never ever heard of and he turns out to be quite decent.
I think something we're going to have to bear in mind in this whole situation is that regardless of who we go for, well, first of all, there you have the list of names that Joe has gone through there. They're all players we have been linked with in some shape or form. So get down below in the comments and let us know which one excites you the most, which one you would like the most. But something we're going to have to realise is that no matter who we go for, now that it is public information that when Nathan Ake goes, City will go into the market, we will dip into the market. every club is just going to bump up their price. They're going to say, okay, Man City want a centre half. If they come for ours, we'll just put an extra 10, 15, 20 million on top of the one they want, because City have clearly made a public information, like I said, that they want a new one. So it's going to be a tricky situation. But as it stands, it looks like we will go into the market, but I still wouldn't be overall surprised if we don't. I mean, we've never been a club that panics and rushes into the market. We saw that with Kompany. We went a while without a proper centre-half like him, a commanding centre-half, until we got Diaz. No striker for 2 years when Aguero left. I know it Jesus, but I don't really count that. And then now we've got Haaland and Alvarez. We don't be a club that rushes into doing these things, but there's a lot of things to bear in mind in this whole situation. So get down below in the comments, let us know your thoughts on everything Joe said there. I think there's a lot of interesting topics for you guys to get involved in down below. Make sure to leave a like in the video as well if you would. It helps us massively. We're so close to 3k subs, so as well subscribe if you're new. We really, really appreciate that. And we'll see you on Friday with a brand new video. Good night. God bless.